Okay, I got a letter from a lady that wanted me to show him something. I don't know if I have showed this to you before. I know I've showed y'all turning heads and doing things like that, but I don't know if we got into this or not before. And I got to looking back and I couldn't necessarily find a video on it or anything like that, but I wasn't sure. But we'll go ahead and do another one trying to figure it out. And what this is about how to cross legs. When you're doing a figure, I'm not going to do the face or anything like that. We're just going to concentrate today on the body of how to do a figure where one leg is crossed over to another. Now, this is basically how most women sit, in other words. Now, I know a lot of men sit like this. I sit like this a lot of times. Because in fact, one woman asked me one time, I mean, you sit like a woman sometimes, and what she did not understand was that I fell out of a pipe rack when I was a young man and landed on my back, and I messed up my hip, and I do have problems with my hip at times when I walk, and so believe it or not, the normal way that a man crosses his legs where they're out and then it's over, when I get in that position, my hip hurts me very, very badly. It begins to really, really bother me. But when I sit with my legs crossed like this, it relieves the pain. For some reason, I can't explain it why or whatever. But what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to cross legs. You can, in a carving, in other words. Let me get my little knife out here. Well, I drew out the pattern and I cut it just like this, in other words. This is what you begin with to do that. And now let's think about, as we look at the piece, this is only 1.5 inches wide, and this is only about 3.5 inches high. So I said we're going to concentrate on this situation here of crossing the legs from the other leg. Now, if you look at the situation, you see the legs will be crossed, and then this leg just stays stationary. It stays just like this, and then this leg crosses over to this leg. So how would we accomplish that? Well, it's pretty simple here. We take our knife and we go around this area in here, okay, and we begin. Now, don't take off anything over here or anything right here. And this is sort of our center line right here, okay, in our piece. And then we begin to slowly take this off here to get it to cross the leg. And you start beginning to take off this area here. See where you begin to open up that area of the leg. So let's go ahead and start taking this area off in here, okay? So you don't want to take anything because you don't know how far you're going to go over here, okay? You don't know how far you're going to cross the legs over here. So you start taking this off in here. And like I said, you come over here You leave this stationary. Okay, now you're beginning to see a little bit, and of course we take this off. The whole body begins to move just a little bit, in other words, as we go with this. Kind of a tough little thing right there. Now, as you see, we're beginning to see a little bit of how now the foot, as we cross, this piece begins to cross this leg, our foot is at an angle. Our foot will be at an angle down here. And then this kind of goes over here like this. And let's continue to take some more off. Now, this, of course, if we come back here, we want to divide this back in half because this part of the leg is going to have to be taken off right here. In order to get the effect that we want, okay, this part of the leg back here will have to be taken off, all right, and removed. Now let me show you what I'm doing here now. This will have to be removed, just like this. Just like that. You see, while this has to come this way, this is going to be removed this way. so that this becomes even right in here, which as you can see is a lot to take off. It's a lot to take all this off and make it that way. And then you see why a lot of people don't cross the legs. It's a lot of work. It's to get this done. Okay, now we're beginning to kind of see now where the leg is stationary and this leg is beginning to come over, in other words, as we see. Alright. Now, as you can see now, this leg is being removed from here. Okay, now as you get to this point, you want to bring this leg down on this side to sort of meet with this one, because I'm trying to bring this leg down now because we're getting some torch back here. Okay. So you see now, then the leg is sort of already over it and just sort of a little ways and at an angle a little bit. So we're going to continue to bring this. What we want to do is we want to shape. We want to begin to shape these legs, and we want to be careful because as we start to shape them, we're going to be removing wood. Okay, I'm going to start shaping this leg right here. Okay, to where it is a normal seating for a leg, and then we're going to work on the next one. Okay. We still may have to remove some wood and things like that, in other words. And what you do is you get one leg. Now that you've got the width right here over that, you begin to you have to take time to shape this leg. People going down the street too fast, as usual. You begin to shape this leg so that you don't go too far over here and how you doing it. So, which means that part of this is going to have to be taken off. So part of this is going to have to be taken off, then some of that, and then you may have to move this over even more. Okay? I hope I'm getting you into what I'm saying. Okay, just like that, see? Where we kind of go up to, let me try this. I'm trying to show you and trying to do it myself. So I just get up here like this. But you're getting the gist of what I'm talking about. I'm shaping this leg, and once I get this leg shaped, then and of course this will be down here like this, like this will be kind of at an angle also where that leg goes. Okay, let me get this leg shaped. Let me get it shaped the way I want it. Which I'm getting there. Okay. Okay, let's just kind of work on the pants here. Okay. All right. Now, we've kind of got this leg shaped right here. And we're just going to kind of get this at an angle a little bit more. Right in here, if you look at it. And then we're going to come over here with this leg, and we're going to meet this leg here with this one. Okay? In other words, you're going to go back over in this area. As you can see, it's hanging over the leg, and then we begin to shape this one to fit that leg, which is, it's way too wide, of course, and it's going to have to come in. And we seem to have the angle pretty good. In other words, what I'm saying is the angle of how the leg is sort of at a catty corner over here. And then we proportion the body after we get through with that, in other words. Trying to get over here. The grain tries to change on me. It doesn't try to change on me, it does, in other words. And then this area in here kind of comes at a angle as well, in other words. So what we're doing is trying to get our leg shaped here. Let's come back, by the way, let's come down here and let's go ahead and cut this for the shoe. This actually here is looking enough like a leg. I may have to bring a little bit more, but it's almost shaped pretty good, in other words. But you see the angle? See the angle we're coming? And then we just begin to come over here and meet this with our and let's sort of begin to shape our shoe. Now we want to be careful on this situation here with the shoe, because the grain is definitely a different matter. Okay. And of course, this all has to come in as well. All this where the body is and the thing is, and let me come a little bit more where this is at. And then this is going to come over quite a bit. Where it kind of fits with the thing. All right, let me go ahead and keep shaping this this leg, because all right. Now let's take a little bit. Continue to take a little bit more off these areas in here, kind of come up here with this. Okay, now look at what we're doing here. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit more too. Just sort of look at it, and you sort of get the general idea of what you're doing. Now we want to take and we want to start shaping this knee right here, bringing it down. Shaping that knee, and it's too big, so we want to kind of, so we want to dig in just a little bit in here again. And move this over a little bit more here. All right. bring this in a little bit more in here. As you kind of look at it, bring this at kind of an angle, just a little bit. And bring this down a little bit more. This grain really changes bad when you get into this area in here. So you got to be very, very careful what you're doing. You have to sit and you have to look at it again. And you have to try to get your bearings here. So okay, let me kind of when you get into these delicate areas in here, you really have to be careful that you don't break. I'm gonna just go ahead and cut for the shoe, because these areas are very, very, the grain just goes. We'll bring this down some more. Bring this down a little bit more. Shape that. And let's come on. And bring this down just a little bit more till we get our shape that we want. Bring that shoe down just a little bit. It's not quite as big. And then you take the body and you bring the body down where it isn't sticking so far out over here from the back. Where it kind of, you know, as it gets right with the body. That's why I didn't do the head or nothing. We wanted to concentrate solely on the legs and how to how to put one over the other. And we're gonna just a little bit more in here. And when you lift those legs, this is going to have to come down just a little bit too. When the legs are over the other legs, there's not a lot of difference, not too much difference of height. My height was a little bit too high. And you work in through that way. You actually bring these down, this body down. And you just kind of move that over there, which sort of joins with the leg, where it looks like it's going over, which means what you're doing is you're letting the leg come over like that. Cut it again, and it's pretty much that's how you do it. You put your knee, you can bring that knee down just a little bit. And we can actually bring this down here like this. And just kind of clean it up a little bit. All right. Well, there you are. I can clean up these legs a little bit. I'm gonna go wash, not wash it, but I'm gonna go in, wet it for you. I don't know if I have done a video on this before. I don't think I have. I really haven't. we haven't really discussed this much. Now remember, on my videos, it may look like I'm a little bit further away, but remember, on my videos, just hit on the right side, you've got the enlarge button. Hit the enlarge button and you're right up on top of me. So you can see everything and every move. And I know a lot of guys do videos where they're up close, but I do these and then you just enlarge it so I can get a full panoramic view of it, and just enlarge it, and you got it, and you can see it right up close. All right, well, let me see. I'm playing here and that a little bit, but we've got the general gist of this thing. In other words, there is your piece of your crossing legs. That is how you cross legs. Just like that. And like I said, then you get the body, and you bring the body down where it's, you know, thing with the crossing of the legs, in other words. And when you're doing a full figure, it may turn out a little bit different, you know. But there you are. There's the crossing of the legs. Just right there. Okay. Well, there's the lesson, and you may have to do this a few times because it's a little bit confusing at first. I don't do a lot of figures with the legs crossed like this. I just don't, because it is kind of a headache to get it all done. But you know, this will help you get a general idea of what it's like to cross the legs. So anyway, there you go. That's how you cross the legs. Just like that. From the side you can see that, in other words. You can see the way it's done. And sometimes you don't have to cross them so much. Sometimes you can just have it barely over the knee part there, the kneecap there. But that is a way of crossing the legs. Okay, well, I hope this helped you in some way. I hope this gave you a general idea of how to cross legs, but that's how you do it. And you know, enjoy yourself, have a good time, and God bless you now. Bye-bye.